Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News for this Saturday, the 8th day of June, 2024. And there's a reason I'm smiling because we have a great headline to begin with. Overnight, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, rescued four hostages. Yes, indeed. Noa Argamani, Andrey Kozlov, Shlomo Ziv, and Almog Meir in a daring rescue in Gaza. They were rescued by the Shin Bet and the Yamam fighters in two different locations in Gaza. All right, they released a statement on Saturday. It has been cleared for publication that in a complex operation by the IDF, Shin Bet, and the Yamam unit of the Israeli police, four Israeli hostages were rescued this morning, namely Saturday. The hostages are Noa Argamani, she's 25, Almog Meir, 21, Andrey Kozlov, 27, and Shlomo Ziv, 40. They were kidnapped by Hamas to the Gaza Strip, all from the Nova Party, on October 7th. They were rescued by Shin Bet and the fighters from two different locations in the operation at the heart of Nuseirat. Their medical condition is stable, and they've been transferred for further medical examination at the Sheba Medical Center at Tel HaShomer. Security forces will continue to make every effort to bring back the hostages. Later in a televised statement, the IDF spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, spoke on the heroic operation. The IDF and the Yamam fighters infiltrated two facilities while under fire from Hamas terrorists. A Yamam soldier was seriously injured in the operation and has just reached the hospital. We pray for his well-being. The operation was a success in rescuing and returning these four hostages. And then they continue. We will continue to do everything to return the 120 hostages still held in Gaza. We are confident that we will reach you, and this operation will not end until you are returned home. We will not give up on a single hostage. I want to say it was with great pride seeing the security forces working together, shoulder to shoulder in a vital operation, returning the hostages home. When the operation reached this level of intelligence, it was approved by the relevant bodies. Only then we were permitted to proceed. Hamas intentionally holds hostages in civilian neighborhoods. Now, when asked by Con 11 News if there were other hostages with them, they said wisely, we cannot answer these intelligence questions about other hostages. We must be very careful with the information security. If we weren't, the operation could have ended much differently. So after 8 months in captivity, there's this wonderful video of this young lady, Noa Argamani, reunited with her father. It's a very moving clip. They're in a helicopter there. She's being transported to the Sheba Medical Center where she'll reunite with her mother, who's battling cancer. But this wonderful, it's literally a tearjerker, 30-second clip of her being reunited with her father after 8 months. What a tremendous story. What a tremendous shot in the arm that Israel needs. And this is the encouragement. Not only that, it's the encouragement for Israel to keep on doing what they're doing, not to stop fighting, but to continue on and do things like this. And this is huge. This is going to be a huge story tonight. You know, it's the Shabbat now in Israel, so the media is silent. There's a few media outlets that are not observant, so they continue on 24/7. But most of the media outlets do not broadcast any stories, and people on the Sabbath, they just keep silent. They don't know. So when the sun goes down this evening in Israel, and the Sabbath ends, this great news will be there proclaimed in Israel. Tremendous celebrations will take place, and it's something they needed, but also it's a further indication that let Israel do what Israel does best. They can win if given a chance. So this is tremendous news to start the day out. Now, talk about us. Here's a second headline: bad timing. Benny Gantz is supposed to give a Saturday night press conference expecting to announce his withdrawal from government. Do you think anybody's going to care tonight? He's going to give his press conference, which he has promised for a few weeks, saying he's going to leave the government because he's not satisfied with Netanyahu, the way they're moving forward, the commitment to what's going to happen afterwards in Gaza. So this is so apropos. Here's this man who is very much an opportunist. He's a political foe of Netanyahu. He's a leftist, and he's been complaining half the time of the so-called unity war cabinet and the government, how he could do a better job. In fact, he'd met with the authorities there in D.C., And who knows what Biden and his people promised him, because they do not like Netanyahu. They don't like the going forward, what's taking place. And of all nights, to make your statement that I'm going to leave the government, you think that's going to get any publicity? Not on your life. So we think God has a very great sense of humor here in allowing the hostages, these four, to be released and taken back to Israel today, when this man is going to talk about how they need him to basically run the country. They don't, and hopefully he'll say goodbye and don't let the door hit you on the way out. So that's another headline. So again, talk about the worst timing possible. He thought his press conference tonight would gain all the headlines, and now instead it's going to be rejoicing night in Israel. And again, more work needs to be done, but this is something, the shot in the arm that Israel needed. Now, there's two other stories we have that are fascinating. They're both well, they're outside of Israel, but they kind of lay out what's going on, why we need to understand the big picture. What we do here on Breaking News is explain events that are taking place worldwide that have something to do with last days Bible prophecy and how they relate. And the third headline is really interesting. The UAE foreign minister slams the useless Palestinian Authority, said no reforms apparent during the Blinken meeting. Remember, they're trying to find somebody to take the place of Hamas in Gaza once Gaza has been rid of the scourge of the Hamas terrorists. And the Palestinian Authority, which is a rival, of course, to Hamas, their headquarters is in Ramallah, north of Israel, north of Jerusalem, and of course, Gaza's in the south. Well, evidently, the UAE, which is a part of the Abraham Accords, their foreign minister slams the useless Palestinian Authority at a meeting with Anthony Blinken. Why? Because there's no reforms apparent with the Palestinian Authority. These people have been ruling for years and years and years, and yet nothing has changed. So here's how it reads. Shouting match demonstrates the rift among Arab states regarding the Gaza day after. They don't know what to do. The foreign minister of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Abdulaziz Jaid, reportedly slammed the Palestinian Authority in a meeting. This is from last month, finally hitting the news, between U.S. Secretary of State Blinken and high-ranking Arab officials. It descended to heated shouting matches from the Times of Israel. They reported this yesterday. The meeting in Saudi Arabia was focused on finding a strategy for the Gaza Strip after the war, including a discussion about the Palestinian Authority efforts at reform. The United States has pushed for the PA to reform itself and eventually resume governance of Gaza. Remember what happened in 2005 when Sharon gave the Gaza to the Palestinians for self-rule. The Palestinian Authority was the ruling body, the PA. They took over. They had an election the next year, 2006, and the people voted them out. They didn't like them. They voted Hamas in. And so they've already turned their back on the PA. And now the Palestinian Authority, they're thinking about allowing these people to rule them, which they're a bunch, as we're going to see, a bunch of incompetent thieves. Now, Israel has strongly rejected the Palestinian Authority ruling. Netanyahu said Gaza will neither be Hamastan or Fatahstan. Hamastan, Fatahstan means the Fatah Hawks. They're the ones who are from the Palestinian Authority. Hamas, of course, is the terrorist organization. And he said neither will rule Gaza any longer. Remember the three goals. Get rid of Hamas, their military. Make sure their military is decimated to the place they can't attack Israel again. And number three, make sure Gaza, after this is over, they don't have a government or a situation put in place where all this can happen again. So what happened was they slammed these people in this meeting with Blinken, saying, look, you haven't done any significant reforms. We give you billions and billions of dollars, and yet there's no reforms. In fact, Yasser Arafat, when he was running this show with the Palestinian Authority, he was like the sixth richest person in the world. And one of the things that blew my mind on the last trip to Israel, when you drive by Jericho, you see this huge building there in Jericho. And what is it? It's a casino for gambling. In other words, they're not doing things for the Palestinian people. They never have. It's only for the high rollers, the rich, and the ones that are well off, which are few and far between. And so why the UAE said, why would we give assistance to the Palestinian Authority without any real reforms? Why should we do this to you? And now, if you paid as much attention to your own people as you do with your security coordination with Israel, they'd be in much better shape. And again, there was a shouting match, and what he called them. He called, "You're Alibaba and the 40 thieves. That's what you're doing, thieving money that's brought in by us. So we don't want you to run Gaza after all this is over." Now, the UAE and the Palestinian Authority have had a history of charged relations over the years, with the UAE decrying their corruption and accusing them. And of course, the Palestinians now accuse the UAE of betrayal because they signed the Abraham Accords in 2020 with a peace treaty with Israel. So anyway, herein lies the problem. There is nobody who can run Gaza. Nobody. Again, the PA was voted out in 2006, replaced by Hamas. They're all corrupt as their counterparts. Now, if you want to understand who the Palestinians are, in our book, 25 Signs, we're near the end, we have an appendix, Appendix 6, who are the Palestinians. And basically, we say to understand the current situation in the Middle East, and especially in the land of Israel, first and foremost, it's essential to precisely know the identity of a people group called the Palestinians. As we write, we ask the question, who are these people? Where do they come from? Are they indigenous to the land? Did they have their own unique language? Was there a leadership ever of from Palestinians or a government? What right do they have, if any, to the land? And we answer this in Appendix 6 in our book, 25 Signs, we're near the end, which, of course, is a free download from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible prophecy, where we have 12 books on the subject of Bible prophecy, going into detail on all these questions about the Palestinians, who they are, who has the right to the land according to the Bible. So we encourage you very much to download the book. All the material is free. Please take advantage of it. Now, the fourth headline is somewhat similar, and this is Europe now. It goes, Germany is panicking now. They're announcing migrant deportation plan. Why? Well, you got the European elections next week. The European Parliament's going to vote on elections. There's different parties vying for leadership. And just days before this, they all vote, you've had a migrant stabbing of a right-wing activist. And then they also killed a German policeman during this uprising there. And now the government's all of a sudden decided, well, we need to get rid of some of these extremists and deport them. Again, you have a bunch of Afghan extremists. This migrant launched a mass knife attack on a right-wing political event in the city of Mannheim last week. Several people were stabbed, including a veteran, a campaigner against Islamification of Germany. A police officer responding to the attack was killed. And this came days after Germany and many other European states, days before they're due to vote on one of the real issues is the anti-mass migration, which has taken over Europe. We've talked about this before. The people of Europe say, this is not our Europe. We don't want this. We don't want this mass migration. And the progressive coalition government has now been alarmed. All of a sudden, they want to start doing something and deport people who have committed serious crimes a week before the elections. Isn't it interesting? So they're a left-wing government, and because the migrants have been behaving badly, it's undermined the national cohesion by drawing attention to this. And this is the problem that happened. Angela Merkel, when she was prime minister, brought all these refugees in, thinking we need to open our hearts to them. And they've caused nothing but huge problems in Germany. And so the German government and its immigration policy have come under attack from both the right and the left, because there was a stabbing of another activist last week who was a left-wing activist. And so you can't win. They attack both the right and the left. And so what we have here, and this is what's really interesting, as they're going to vote the European Parliament, which groups will get in there, where will they rule in the future? This fits the globalism idea. And this is one of our signs, sign 13. There'll be a one world political and economic system called globalism at the time of the end, where it will be basically forced upon countries things that they're not used to. Their rules, their history, and that will be interrupted by this idea that there's no such thing as a sovereign country, no such thing as, your own rule anymore. We're all part of one big, massive group. And we know Europe will move into a 10-nation confederation at the time of the end. And it's called iron mixed with clay in the book of Daniel. And we have a great quotation from Stephen Miller, who's written a book on Daniel. He's written a commentary there. And here's what he says. It's interesting in explaining the iron mixed with clay. He says, the people or peoples, nations or divisions represented by the iron and clay toes will constitute one kingdom, can be one kingdom, although they will not remain united. And this is key, one kingdom, but not united. Evidently, the meaning is that in spite of the fact that these groups will compose one empire, they will never truly become one people, for they will maintain separate cultures and their own national identities. And this herein lies the problem. God in the beginning established borders. Exodus 23:31. Here's what he told Israel: and I will fix your boundaries from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the eastern wilderness to the Euphrates River. I will hand over to you the people now living in the land, and you will drive them out ahead of you. So, what we have in Scripture, we deal with this in this question on globalism. The Lord will fix the boundaries of the nations, and He has that from the beginning, especially the land given to the offspring of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's why globalism will never work, because one of the things it tries to do, it says there's no boundaries anywhere. And God made it very clear, Genesis 12, that God said to Abram, I'm going to give you a specific land with specific borders, and it's going to belong to you and your people forever. So what we see, globalism does not work, but it's going to be forced on the people. And here, right before the elections in Germany, you have this chaos going on because they see the problem of bringing in people with different cultures, different backgrounds. That's just not fit the history of Germany and of Europe, actually, what's gone on for centuries. All right, these are the top stories today. Let's rejoice. Let's thank the Lord that 4 hostages have been released, have been, rescued. They're now with their families. It's a tremendous time to rejoice for them, and just pray that more of these type of situations will happen. Israel will find out where the rest of them are, and will do raids like this and get them out. It's again, like they said, it was a very difficult operation, but it was done, and they can do it, and they should be given the opportunity to do it. Not, as Joe Biden said, we must have a ceasefire immediately. No, Israel must finish the job, and that's what we pray that will happen. All right, I'm Don Stewart. Thanks for watching. We'll be back later today and bring you the latest updates. And until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.